Hello, and welcome to Prairie Pulse. Coming up later in the show, we'll hear music from Slamabama. But first, joining me now, our guest is Steve Hunigs, the Executive Director of the Jewish Community Relations Council of Minnesota and the Dakotas. Steve, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, John. It's a pleasure. Congratulations to the station on 60 years of service to the area.
Thank you for that. Well, thanks for joining us today, as we said. And as we start off, tell the folks a little bit about yourself and maybe your background.
Sure. Again, Steve Hunigs. I'm the Executive Director, as you said, the JCRC of Minnesota and the Dakotas. It's my great pleasure to serve along with my wonderful staff and our board, Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota, as I like to call it, 225,000 square miles of paradise, right? Red River Valley, of course, is hinterland between Minnesota and North Dakota. It's a very important part. Keep in mind, here in North Dakota, we have Synagogue B'nai Israel in Grand Forks, Bethel here in Fargo. Jim Shaw is our board member, so we're deeply involved in activities in North Dakota. Brought our annual report with. You can take a look at that. Some of our areas are, well, in the news these days, Israel advocacy. We do a lot of work in civil rights. We hold the responsibility for social service agencies and lobbying for the Minnesota Jewish Social Service Agencies, Holocaust education, community security. Got a staff of 11 people based in Minneapolis, but as I said before, we're often in Minnesota, North Dakota, and South Dakota. Some of our programs have a national reach, which is terrific. So we have a national organization, and we lobby the members of the federal delegation, 6 senators. I'd like to say we have responsibility for 6% of the United States Senate, members of Congress, the legislatures of the 3 states. Wonderful work.
Yeah. Well, so you told us a little bit about that. What about the Jewish American Heritage Month we're in? What's that all about?
President Biden every year signs a proclamation for it, or when he's president, and he says, this year we're dedicated to, in Jewish American History Month, talking about the values, contributions, work that American Jews and its impact have contributed to the United States. And that's really important to remember what the American Jewish community has contributed. 1654, 23 Jews came from Holland, the Netherlands, to what was then New Amsterdam, which became New York. Some of those, from that really humble, John, beginning, grew this wonderful, expansive American Jewish community. It's all about democracy, right? I mean, one reason Jews have seen this as such a wonderful place is democratic opportunity, democratic values. After all, what does democracy mean? It means people have an opportunity to rise, right? On their own merits, working hard together with people. I like to tell people that there's never been a better time to be a Jew practically anywhere in the world than the United States in 2024. And I say that if 2 thoughts can occupy your mind at the same time, despite issues with anti-Semitism, even rising anti-Semitism, even punctuated by violence such as we had at the Tree of Life Synagogue in 2018, because both are true at the same time. And I tell people, because of my work, because of our team's work, travel all over the place. And I can tell you that philo-Semitism, that is the fancy word for people who want to partner with the Jewish community, work with the Jewish community, is far more prevalent than anti-Semitism, which is the good news, right? That said, we do have issues with anti-Semitism now. So, life is ambiguity. Life is trying to make sense of the internal contradictions. That's a lot of what we do. But at the end of the day, American democracy is one of our most important values, and it's something that we all need to defend.
How many Jewish people are there in Minnesota and the Dakotas?
So I like to say, sort of on a good day, maybe 50,000 in Minnesota, perhaps 1,000 combined between North Dakota and South Dakota. But keep in mind, our communities in South Dakota and North Dakota are very well integrated into the social life of both states. We've had many important leaders come out of both South Dakota and North Dakota. Let's think about North Dakota for a second. Herschel Laskowitz, state senator responsible for so much of urban renewal in Fargo in the 1960s and the 1970s, sort of as a national leader, and made Fargo a national leader. Judge Myron Bright from the 8th Circuit Court of Appeals, right, served for decades on the 8th Circuit Court of Appeals. Court of Appeals, of course, is the level of the court next highest to the Supreme Court. He served so long, he was the last member of the federal judiciary who was appointed by Lyndon Johnson, right? So his influence, right, from writing all those opinions in 3-judge panels will last for years and years and years. And, if you got to know Judge Bright, you know what a character he was too. But he's just sort of an exemplar remember my point about democracy. How is it that he rose to the Eighth Circuit? Well, it's because he made a lot of friends, made a lot of alliances in North Dakota politics over the years. He was a wonderful judge. He was a wonderful lawyer, and those sorts of characteristics, made it possible for him to be appointed to the Eighth Circuit.
Mm-hmm. And you talked about how many were in Minnesota and Dakotas. Are most of those in the Twin Cities, though?
Sure, we have the significant majority, but keep in mind, remember I mentioned there were synagogues in Fargo and Grand Forks, synagogues in Sioux Falls, synagogue all the way over in Rapid City, Rochester, Duluth, throughout the Twin Cities, and Minneapolis and St. Paul in the suburbs. Interestingly enough, the Jewish community used to be far more widespread in terms of smaller towns in the Dakotas as well as Minnesota. Over time, the influence of the universities or influences of getting jobs, people tended to gravitate towards the larger cities.
Yeah, you mentioned coming over in 1654, I think. But how and why did Jewish people settle in Minnesota and the Dakotas?
Great question. It was the weather, I think. Any number of reasons. First families would come. The Minnesota-Dakotas tradition was like much of the rest of the United States. First came the German Jews, right? 1830s, 1840s, 1850s, highly educated people, some of them leaving the tumult of mid-19th century Europe, the German revolutions of 1848. And they settled here, significantly a mercantile class, educated people, small numbers, St. Paul, Mount Zion Temple in St. Paul, for instance, founded by exclusively German Jewish families. 1870s, 1880s, things become more difficult for the Jews of Eastern Europe. Between 1880 and 1920, nearly 2 million Jews from Eastern Europe came to the United States. Huge number, transformed American Jewish community, transformed global Jewry, transformed the United States. Why did they come? Because the United States was such a wonderful opportunity for people.
Mm-hmm. So how were Jewish people treated when they first arrived in this region, and how are they treated now?
Sure. Again, when the German Jews arrived, and just drawing upon a little bit of the Twin Cities, St. Paul Jewish experience, but we can extrapolate from there to the entire region, they were very welcomed. There weren't a lot, and they were sort of seen as contributors to society and the like. They weren't all that much different than Americans in that sense. When the Jews of Eastern Europe came, they were far more facially, in the sense of what they wore, how they acted, the traditional Jewish communities. That led to, like with all generations, all immigrants, some difficulties, some hardships as people assimilated, as people assumed American customs. Became the great sort of struggle of American Jews to maintain their traditions while adapting to American mores as well as modernity too. So you see this fascinating sort of kaleidoscope of American Jews as they become in touch with all sorts of American culture and society, and ending up with something I think fairly unique, and that is the American Jewish community.
Mm-hmm. Where does your family immigrate from?
3 of my 4 grandparents were born in the United States. So we have relatively deeper roots. My dad's mom, this is interesting, my dad's mom was from Poland, and she came to Fargo on the Adriatic, well, not on the Adriatic, but they sailed over on the Adriatic, ended up in Fargo in North Dakota. If you go to Bonanzaville, there's an exhibit on Jewish history, and my grandma's passage ticket on the Adriatic is part of the exhibit, right? I'm very proud to have come to Fargo, North Dakota. Eventually the family moved to Minnesota, but what happened was in 1914, World War I breaks out, and my grandma came from a very large family, as was traditional before the war. Nobody knew the war was coming. The dad took the 2 oldest daughters, and they would establish themselves and then would send money back home, but the war intervened, and my paternal grandmother and the rest of the family could not come until after the war. Yeah, so it was a real struggle to survive all those years during World War I and the war bloodshed between Russia and Germany.
Yeah, well, and you're talking about wars and things. Let's talk a bit about what's going on in the world right now with Israel and Gaza. What is your view on what's going on?
First, a hopeful note. I had the privilege to be in Jerusalem just recently on Good Friday and Easter Sunday. And remember, that was during the time of Ramadan. So if you're in Jerusalem on Friday, it's the approach of the Jewish Sabbath as well as the Muslim Sabbath too. And I'm happier to report Jews, Christians, and Muslims were completing their important spring rituals, their holy observances not quite side by side, but in the same city, in a certain amount of peace. And I saw it with my own eyes, being again on Good Friday and Easter Sunday. The Gaza war, of course, is a terrible thing to see, right? Innocent bloodshed is something that we have to abhor and do our best to try to overcome. And nevertheless, this was a war started by Hamas. People talk about a ceasefire. There was a ceasefire in place on October 7th. They started the war, swept over the dividing line, and talk about genocide. They were murdering every Jew upon whom they could get their hands, right? Not to mention the sexual predation, the mass sexual predation of the day. Fast forward to now, practically the entire world is saying, release the hostages. There's a deal on the table which Hamas refuses to accept. They could end the war right now, simply, at least some period of calm, if they would accept the deal, and 33 hostages they want released. Everything is so local. Hirsch Goldberg, Poland, a young man who had his arm blown off on October 7th, whose video was just cruelly released by Hamas. His parents' friends are good friends of our former rabbi, Rob Kahn, who went to live in Israel, and I happened to see Rob in Jerusalem. So talk about things being very personal. You look and see what's happening on the college campus as the seizure of the Hamilton building at Columbia. What was the sign that was unfurled? Intifada. Right? What does Intifada mean? Intifada was the terrorist activity after the Camp David Accords failed, unfortunately. That was launched against Israeli, murdered 1,000 Israelis by bombs. You might remember the bombs in restaurants and the like. What is that a call for when you see a sign that says Intifada? That really means murder Jews. And when they talk about globalizing the Intifada, which is one of the chants on college campuses these days and throughout the world, that means murdering Jews wherever you can find them. So, I talked about a certain amount of optimism being in this country. You also have to take great care because there are people, and this is one thing about the Gaza war too, that people have become somewhat liberated, so to speak, in what they will say now. Things that people would never utter before are now being said as a matter of politics, like destroy Israel and essentially kill the Jews. So for that reason, we live in very tenuous times.
Yeah, and go back to General Eisenhower. He famously had German citizens after the war there forced to come and see concentration camps, is my understanding. And because he commented then, in years to come, there will be those who say that this never happened.
The Second World War changed American Jewish life forever. 500,000 Jews served in the armed forces during the war. People went off to Europe or the Pacific and came back with much different views. Of course, Israel was born 3 years later, and that was also a seismic change in global Jewry as well as American Jewry. My own cousin, Sonny Cohen, was killed in action December 1944, laid to rest at the American Military Cemetery in Lorraine. The point being here that all Americans came together to fight the Holocaust, to fight Japanese brutality, to fight German brutality. Eisenhower had the foresight to say, unless we establish this record, people will say it didn't happen. He was visiting Ohrdruf, which was a subcamp at Buchenwald in the company of Generals Patton and Bradley and Eisenhower, when he made this talk. He actually wrote to General Marshall. He said, I came here because I don't want people to say someday that this was all a form of propaganda. If you go to the United States Holocaust Museum, his words are etched upon the stone right outside the museum. But he's proven 100% correct, right? Unfortunately, Holocaust denial is present throughout the world. You can talk about October 7th when there are people, even people at universities, who deny the sexual predation of October 7th. So you get Holocaust denial. Now you have the newest form of denial in the mass rape of October 7th.
Yeah. You brought a couple other items with you. What did you? Yeah.
Well, first of all, here's a North Dakota hero, Herman Stern, working with Senator Gerald Nye, sort of an irony in that because he was something of an isolationist. But maybe hold this up again. My dear friend Art Phillips and Karl Oberholzer made this wonderful documentary about Herman, who sort of single-handedly helped save 125 German and Austrian Jews because he was so darn determined. Everybody knew Herman in North Dakota, Strauss, and he's a supporter of the hospitals, the Boy Scouts, the Little League, everything that he could possibly do. And people wanted to help him because he'd helped so many in his life, even Senator Nye, who was kind of a curmudgeon, didn't like Jews much, but nevertheless thought it was important to help Herman Stern. I always thought this was a good lesson in democracy, because why was Herman able to help save people? Because people wanted to help Herman because he'd help them. That's what the story of America is all about. And this is 1936, 1937, the Peel Commission report. Talk about a way, two-state solution, hopefully to end the conflict between Israelis and Palestinians. That was the conclusion drawn by the British in 1936, that the only way to resolve the conflict between Jews and Arabs in Palestine was through division of the land, that the United Nations also accepted in 1947, in which unfortunately the Palestinian Arabs rejected at that time. You could have had two states for two peoples way back as late as 1947, 1948. It says right at the beginning of this report, there is no conflict in history which requires context more than the Arab-Jewish dispute over Palestine. I say Arab-Jewish because it was 1936. So all those years ago, that's what the Peel Commission report was emphasizing, and that holds to today. You need to have a deep understanding of history in order to fully understand what's happening in the Middle East.
Yeah. Can a two-state solution ever come about, do you think?
I hope so. I think it's critically important. It is the position of much of the American Jewish community, certainly a position of our organization, that the path to peace in the Middle East is with two independent states. In the Middle East, a fair and safe and secure Israel against a demilitarized Palestinian state. Events of recent and events of the near past have made some doubt it. But if you could quote the first Prime Minister of Israel, David Ben-Gurion, when he said that to expect a miracle is what a realist does. So that's important.
You mentioned it throughout the interview, and maybe can you define anti-Semitism?
I think it's hostility and prejudice and against Jews. Kind of just simple that, right? The term more, that was a term coined by Wilhelm Marr, actually a German anti-Semite back in the 19th century, early part of the 20th century. It's not pleasant to say this, but probably a more accurate term now is just plain Jew hatred, right? Hatred of Jews, right? And that's what we're seeing in so many places associated with the war. Kill Israelis, kill Jews, etc., destroy Israel.
How can people report incidents of hate?
If you go to our website for the JCRC, community security is one of our areas of responsibility also, and there's a place where you can file a report on our website.
Yeah. What about some events coming up in the region that your group is sponsoring?
Sure. We have our annual event on June 2nd with Hatib Redigura, who is a Times of Israel podcast writer. Haviv is a tremendous authority in the Middle East, coming all the way from Israel for our annual event, and that's in Minneapolis. We have our Power of Place. We take teachers who teach the Holocaust from the Upper Midwest and throughout the country. This year we're taking them to Poland, Germany, and France to literally be on the ground so they can, when they go back to their high schools, they can help teach. We have our Yom HaShoah commemoration about the Holocaust coming up actually on this Sunday. So we have a lot of different events coming up. Just kind of a quick shout out to Williston, North Dakota. There's a new movie out about Nicholas Winton. Nicholas Winton helped save several hundred Jewish children from primarily Austria and Germany through his own determination. And his son, Nicholas Winton Jr., we brought him to Williston, North Dakota, so we could tell the story of his father. We had hundreds of people in Williston, both the high school as well as the community came out to hear the story of Nick Winton as told by his son. And now it's a movie. The Nick Winton story, I think it's called One Life. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're out of time, so if people want more information, where's the best place for them to go?
Just our website, or email me. You can email me at steve@minnndakjcrc.org, right? And happy to respond to all emails. It's been a great pleasure to be with you, John. Thank you. Thank you to Matt and everybody here at Prairie Public Television.
All right. Steve, thank you.
Thank you.
Stay tuned for more. Slamabama is a high-energy country pop band who travel the country to share their love of music. Their talent will invite you to the show, but their big hearts, genuine camaraderie, and Southern hospitality will ensure you have a great experience.
I should have known he wouldn't be home tonight when I drove by. I should have known he wouldn't get the phone when I called 20 times. This ain't the first time I've caught him in a lie. He does it just because he can. I don't know why I let him wreck my life. I know he can't be trusted. If it's nice, he's gonna bust it. Boys break things, they never take care of anything. Always gotta be blowing something up or tearing something down. Always up to something out, running around. Boys break things. And I should have known when I was 8 years old, one broke the chain off of my bike. And I should have known when another broke his arm underneath the Friday night lights. I've seen them crash the cars, I've seen them smash guitars. They do it just because they can. I don't know why we let them wreck our lives. We know they can't be trusted. If it's nice, they're gonna bust it. Boys break things, they never take care of anything. Always gotta be blowing something up or tearing something down. Always up to something out, running around. Can't change a thing about him, but we can't live without him. And I'll never understand when a heart is in their hands. Boys break things, they never take care of anything. Always gotta be blowing something up, tearing something down. Always up to something out, running around. Boys break things, they never take care of anything. Always gotta be blowing something up or tearing something down. Always up to something out, running around. Oh, why do boys break things?
It's gonna be a long week. The weekend's flying like a blue streak. We can let it just pass us by, or we can try to get in one more round. Pick up the trailer and a ski boat, call up the gang and let them all know we're gonna meet down at the Amoco, head to the cove and party till the sun goes down. We'll have a little Sunday fun day before the clock strikes Monday. Get the cooler and I'll bring the beer, you bring the ice, bikini top and baby, cause the weather's nice. And we'll run away, and all the troubles they'll be gone away. We'll have a head to the lake, playing the bake in the Sunday. We'll have a little Sunday fun day. Sunday service neither to the Lord, to raising hell on a kneeboard. We got it covered sun up to down, let's get unwound. Tell all your friends in town we're having us a Sunday fun day before the clock strikes Monday. Get the cooler and I'll bring the beer, you bring the ice, bikini top and baby, cause the weather's nice. And we'll run away, making the Sunday. We'll have a little Sunday fun day. Let's tie it up, tie it on, till the Saturday night hangover is gone. We'll have a little Sunday, Monday, before the clock strikes Monday, Monday. Get the cooler and I'll bring the beer, you bring the ice, bikini top and baby, cause the weather's nice. And we'll run away, and all the troubles they'll be gone away, gone away. We'll have a head to the lake, playing and making the Sunday. Grill up the steak and call in late on Monday. We'll have a little Sunday fun day. It's Sunday fun day. It's Sunday fun day.
Well, that's all we have this week on Prairie Pulse. And as always, thanks for watching.
Funded by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund, with money from the vote of the people of Minnesota on November 4th, 2008. And by the members of Prairie Public.